Wow. Meghan Markle and her so-called spare Prince Harry have once again become the center of international attention after news broke of their supposed new Netflix deal, a deal that at first glance seemed like yet another lucrative victory for the self-exiled Sussexes, but on closer inspection has revealed itself to be something very different, perhaps even catastrophic, for Meghan personally. Because while she may have triumphantly announced in a carefully worded statement that she and Harry were moving forward with their royal-branded Hollywood empire, behind the polished press releases and the carefully staged smiles lies a much darker reality, one in which the walls are visibly closing in on Meghan and the entire carefully manufactured image she has spent years cultivating. What began back in 2020 as a relatively soft and indulgent exit arrangement from the British monarchy, an arrangement that allowed the Sussexes to leave official royal duties while still clinging tightly to their Duke and Duchess titles, basking in the global prestige of royalty without having to carry the burdens of responsibility or protocol, has now been shattered beyond recognition, and not by tabloid gossip or anonymous palace courtiers whispering in darkened corridors, but by a direct strike from the very heart of Britain's centuries-old establishment, a move that carries both symbolic and practical consequences of the highest order. The Netflix contract, which many outlets rush to describe as another massive 5-year, $100 million windfall for the couple, is, in reality, far less lucrative and far less certain, more of a modest first-look agreement than a king-making payday, and while Meghan tried to spin it as evidence of Hollywood's undying love for her brand, the real storm was already gathering across the Atlantic, where the House of Lords, with the tacit approval of King Charles himself, has been moving towards something Meghan likely believed unthinkable: the stripping of her remaining royal titles and privileges. In the world of monarchy, silence often speaks louder than words, and when Charles deliberately chose not to intervene or object to the Lords' petition, one demanding that Meghan Markle be stripped once and for all of the status she has repeatedly used as both shield and weapon, the message was deafening in its clarity. This was no mere rebuke, no subtle warning. This was nothing less than an execution order on her royal persona, an erasure of the very foundation of her post-royal identity. If you had only seen Meghan's gushing announcement and Netflix's cautiously enthusiastic press releases, you might have thought nothing had changed, that the Sussexes remained the darling outsiders-turned-global power couple, but the truth is that sources inside Montecito say Meghan is furious, blindsided, and enraged, realizing too late that her carefully constructed Duchess brand can be dismantled by royal protocol in a matter of weeks, and what is perhaps most devastating for her, the move comes not from gossip or smear campaigns, but directly from the crown itself, with King Charles quietly signaling his support for the Lords' initiative by refusing to shield her. In royal politics, non-interference can be as strong as a royal signature, and this time Charles's silence spoke volumes. He is letting the hammer fall. For Meghan, the consequences are catastrophic. The titles she clung to, the ones she used to lend gravitas to her Netflix documentaries, to her brand launches, to her endless Hollywood PR ventures, are now in mortal danger, and for a woman who has built her identity around being a duchess in exile, losing them is not just symbolic but existential, threatening to unravel everything she has worked for since leaving the UK. The monarchy almost never strips titles once they are granted, particularly from living royals, making this potential act seismic in scale, akin to the nuclear option, and the last time Britain witnessed a public removal of dignity on this level was during the abdication crisis of Edward VIII, who surrendered his throne for Wallis Simpson, a scandal that still echoes across the history books. Some even draw parallels to Princess Diana, who, after her divorce from Charles, was stripped of the style Her Royal Highness, a decision that left her devastated, though she remained the beloved people's princess in the eyes of the public. Meghan, however, does not command that same deep affection in Britain, and unlike Diana, she cannot rely on overwhelming public sympathy to shield her. To even have Meghan's name mentioned in the same breath as such historic precedents underscores the gravity of her situation. It is not simply punitive, it is deeply symbolic, a declaration to the world that Meghan Markle is no longer one of them, that she cannot continue to wield royal privilege while simultaneously attacking the institution that bestowed it upon her. And here lies the cruel irony. While Meghan has carefully erased her estranged family from her life, her father, her brother, and her sister ruthlessly cut out of her constructed aristocratic world, and while Harry himself has become estranged from his royal relatives, who now refuse to engage with their sulky renegade kinsmen, the House of Lords has stepped into the void, acting with unexpected decisiveness. Often dismissed as ceremonial, sluggish, and archaic, the Lords shocked the establishment by pushing the petition forward, citing Meghan's repeated commercial exploitation of her title, her ongoing media offensives against the family, and her consistent use of the crown's prestige as grounds for stripping her of the very honor she has weaponized. One peer was even quoted as saying privately, "Titles are not weapons," a blunt statement that cut directly to the heart of the controversy. And indeed, titles were never meant to be used as leverage for Netflix contracts, Oprah interviews, and Hollywood networking opportunities. They were meant to signify duty, service, and loyalty to the institution of monarchy, values that Meghan and Harry, according to critics, have trampled underfoot. Thomas Markle, Meghan's estranged father, has never met Harry and has never seen his grandchildren, while King Charles himself has not seen Archie or Lilibet in years, further underscoring the widening rift, and palace insiders now whisper that Charles no longer trusts Meghan to use her children or her royal connections responsibly, viewing her instead as someone who profits while simultaneously vilifying the crown. For the Lords to act at all is extraordinary, but to do so with the silent blessing of the king is revolutionary, a turning point that suggests the monarchy has finally run out of patience. When Meghan and Harry first staged their freedom flight from royal life in early 2020, the arrangement was deliberately generous, designed to give them space and freedom while still preserving dignity. They were allowed to keep their titles as Duke and Duchess, to live abroad, to pursue lucrative careers, so long as they maintained the dignity of the crown. But 4 years later, that fragile arrangement lies in ruins, eroded by a relentless stream of PR offensives, Netflix docuseries, tell-all interviews, and Meghan's constant framing of herself as a victim of a cruel, outdated institution. What was once a compromise has turned into a battlefield, and the Lords' petition is the smoking gun that declares the deal is over. For Meghan, the timing is disastrous. She has multiple projects lined up, deals in development, and contracts negotiated, all explicitly tied to her Duchess status, and without the title, many of those may lose their shine, their value, or collapse entirely. To be stripped now is not just a symbolic humiliation, it is an existential threat to the very brand she has spent years curating. Even in America, where Meghan once enjoyed glowing coverage, the tide has turned. Entertainment commentators now openly question her relevance without the Duchess label, with one viral post brutally summarizing, "Without the crown, she's just another Hollywood actress past her prime." And therein lies the danger. For Meghan, the title was never just decorative. It was the hook, the unique value proposition that distinguished her from the crowded field of celebrities. Without it, every Netflix special, every podcast, every book rollout risks being seen as just another piece of generic celebrity content. Financially, the blow could be devastating, and reputationally, it could be fatal. Across Britain, polls show surging support for stripping her titles, with even moderates who once sympathized with her now declaring enough is enough, and social media has lit up with hashtags like #StripTheTitles, #NoMoreDuchess, and #PlainMeghan. Editorials in London papers have praised the move as long overdue, while meme culture is piled on with mocking captions, dubbing her the Duchess of Debt or Her PR Highness. TikTok users have stitched old clips of Meghan discussing service with captions like, "Service is universal, but titles aren't permanent," while Twitter users mockingly declared, "Without Duchess, Meghan Markle is just another hustler in LA." Even her once loyal American fanbase is wavering, with commentators saying her Hollywood appeal without the royal halo effect is minimal at best. And so Meghan faces the brutal truth. The titles she used to launch Netflix shows, podcasts, and high-profile interviews are not mere ornaments, but the very foundation of her post-royal empire, and if they are stripped away, the entire edifice risks collapsing overnight. What began as a fairy tale romance, then evolved into a rebellion, now curdles into a cautionary tale. Meghan Markle, once the shining outsider who shook up Windsor, now risks being reduced to just another celebrity scrambling for relevance in an unforgiving industry. Hollywood allies who once embraced her are silent, her critics feel vindicated, and the monarchy she sought to outshine has, with quiet ruthlessness, put her back in her place. Because the truth, as even her harshest defenders must admit, is this: titles built Meghan's brand, and without them, she may become what the crown always suspected she was. Not a duchess, not a visionary, but simply another figure in the endless churn of fame, fighting desperately to hold the world's attention.